Okay, you're good.
Excuse me, it is 5:03. I would like to call to order the December 15th, 2020 meeting of the Sutton Select Board to order. Before we get started, I do have two statements. One to the community, this is not being broadcast live at this time, but we are currently on YouTube, or you'll be able to click on the town link on the Facebook page to see a recording of the meeting. Additionally, I would like to start with Governor Baker's order of March 12th, 2020, allowing us to conduct meetings remotely consistent with the following terms. Due to the state of emergency in the Commonwealth related to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as public participation has been offered for this meeting. The first item on our agenda is public forum. We request that this be limited to 5 minutes per topic. Discussion or comments about town employees or agency members shall be avoided so as to not violate individuals' rights. Do we have anyone here for public forum? There being none, we will move to agenda item number 3, which happens to be the select board minutes from the December 1st meeting.
Madam Chairwoman, I move to accept the select board minutes from December 1st, 2020 as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes unanimously. I think we are going to jump ahead on our agenda items to our public hearing on tax classification. I would like to indicate that the public hearing is now open. And Jim, did you want to get us started on this one?
Just that this is the annual tax classification hearing held by the board. It's a little late this year. We've had some issues with DOR. And we've also converted to, a new vision, Vision 8, I think it is. So a number of different issues came up this year, but we're still setting the rate or the factor, and ultimately the rate will be set as a result of that. And bills will go out at the normal time by January 1st.
Okay, Jonathan, if you wouldn't mind, would you mind reading into the record the public notice on tonight's tax classification hearing?
Yes. In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 56, as amended, the Sutton Select Board will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, December 15th, 2020 at 5 p.m. via Zoom. Sutton Town Hall, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton. The purpose of this meeting is to determine the percentage of tax burden to become by each class property for fiscal 2021. This will be a virtual meeting in accordance with the orders issued by the governor during the current state of emergency. There'll be no in-person attendance by the public. Persons may attend and participate in the hearing by using the online Zoom application via phone, or you may also provide input emailing djakes@town.sutton.ma.us or US mail to Select Board, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton, Massachusetts, 01590.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. I do see that we have Mr. Nunnemarker here from the Board of Assessors. Would you like to provide us some comment?
Yes, I also have the other 2 assessors here. Ray Nichols is next to me and Joyce is around the corner. Can't all squish into this little space that we have. You have before you a listing of the different values that the amount of money that we need to raise and appropriate this year, starting off with the fiscal 20 levy that the amount of money we actually raised last year, $21,869,000. We add to that the 2.5% increase that's allowed by law. We also add to, which is, that amount is about $524,000. We also add new growth, which is new construction, such as the condominiums on Fairway View Drive and Ariel Drive and other new houses in town, and the commercial properties that we have. That amount is about $399,000 added to that. The debt exclusions, those are the debts that the town has voted over the past years for schools and other projects that we had. The stabilization fund is a kind of special fund that you in particular are the ones that handle. It was an outgrowth of the Shaw Farm purchase for a total levy this year of $25,767,000, more or less, in coming up with the values for the town. Every year we are required by the Department of Revenue to review the sales of the previous calendar year and compare those to our assessed values, and that particular ratio, assessed value divided by the sale value as a whole for different classes of property, has to be within a certain limit, usually around 95 to 97%. That's required by the DOR to get approval for your tax rate. This year, our residential percentage of the total town value increased from last year, along with our commercial increased, but our industrial values and personal property values decreased. So when you do these calculations for the tax shift, the residential percentage has increased a little bit, and the commercial, industrial, and personal property has decreased a little bit. We calculate, we collect a lot of information from different sources. The town clerk provides the town meeting votes. Town accountant Tim Harrison provides a great number of other things, the estimated receipts in the past and what he projects to come in the future, and other accounting items. And Joyce Sardnola assembles all that information to come up with a tax rate. The simple part of it is you have a levy limit, the amount of money that you're allowed by law to raise. You divide the town value. There's a division with the town value, and you end up with a maximum possible tax rate of $16.00, which is an increase of about 24 cents from last year. And that typically is what we've been doing, the practice that we've been doing over the last umpteen years that we've been around. That particular tax rate leaves an excess levy capacity. Levy capacity, the difference is what we can raise, not counting all the decimals after the cents and rounding off the cents. And that excess levy capacity is $2,645.55. It's we've always raised the maximum amount on that, so we've had to raise it. Joyce has provided in the sheets that you have the tax shift. As selectmen, you're allowed to determine how much of the tax burden is split between residential property and commercial, industrial, and personal property. You can reduce the residential, but when you do that, you raise the commercial part. That over the years, we have never done that in Sutton. There's been some talk about it, but we've never done it because in general, our commercial, industrial, personal property values in town are quite low. About 14% of the town's value is those. So if we make a change, and for our example here, we have the maximum amount of change, that is 150% increase in the tax burden by the commercial, industrial, and personal property. And that particular 150% would result in an average commercial property having an increase of about $3,200. A residential property of the same value, $400,000, would have a decrease of $512. That would be a substantial effect on the commercial property. You don't have to go with 150%. You can go with anything between 100 and 150%. That decision is solely made by the Board of Selectmen. Any questions?
We can turn it over to the board for questions. I just didn't know if any of the other two assessors with you had anything else to add.
No, I'm good. This is Ray Nichols. I'm good.
Thanks, Ray.
And I think I hear Joyce back there saying she's good too. So
Okay, great. So why don't we start with questions from the board, and we'll start with you, David.
Thank you very much. Nick, Joyce, Ray, thank you very much for your presentation, for your annual presentation on this topic. You know, I don't so much have questions, a couple of comments. I guess for the public, you know, this is a vote that we're required to take every year. As Nick said, we've never voted in the history of the town to have a split tax rate. The example that Nick gives, you know, of a $400,000 property at the maximum split going up $3,200 for a commercial property while saving a residential taxpayer $512 partially illustrates what the issue is. You know, I think this board historically has concluded that the negative impact in terms of tax burden to commercial property just goes against our goals. We're trying to continue to encourage to have commercial development in town. And if you think about a commercial property that typically would be valued much higher than the $400,000 example that Nick's given, means that a split rate would have a very significant negative impact on commercial taxpayers. And I think this year of all the years is a great time to talk about what that really means. You know, this year we had Prime Metals open a building here, and when they were doing their search for a new location, they came from Worcester and had an option of staying in Worcester, but Worcester has a significantly split tax rate, and the tax burden to them in Worcester was a very significant portion of their cost analysis when they decided where to go. So I think it was a help in determining to come to a place like Sutton, and I think it validates our decision along the way over the years to keep the tax rate the same for commercial and residential properties. So again, for the town, for the viewers, that's why my decision has been and continues to be to keep one tax rate. So that's all I have. Thanks
Thank you
again,
so much,
Nick, and
David.
thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Jesse.
Madam Chairwoman, Nick, Ray, Joyce, good evening. Thank you for coming. As Dave mentioned, you know, it's always a pleasure to hear from the assessor's office and, you know, give the residents a chance to get an update in terms of where we're standing in the overall collection of property taxes in town. And I always find it enlightening because, you know, the reality is that we're all in this community together. You know, we who live here as residents, you know, yeah, we buy our house, but we're contributing to the well-being of all of the services that are provided in town. We're supporting the schools, we're supporting the fire, the police, the highway, and it's all coming through our tax dollars. And having an opportunity to really look down at the numbers that are in black and white, seeing the share, the percentage share, you know, it's always very enlightening, at least for me. As Dave, with Dave, I don't really have any questions. I am going to just say it right now. I'm a huge supporter of what we've done in the past in terms of maintaining an equal rate. As Dave said, you know, we do have the objectives of trying to build up our commercial properties. And in addition to Prime Metals, we had IBA move into town. We have Unified, and they're operating a global facility. Their headquarters in town, and these commercial enterprises, they contribute to, you know, the well-being of our community as well. Yeah, sure, there may be that temptation to say, oh, they're big businesses and they can afford more. But the reality is by giving them or treating them the same as residents, they're contributing to the well-being of the community as well. They're registering their vehicles in town, so they're paying excise taxes. They have employees that, you know, when they get out of work, maybe they're shopping at Market 32, or they're going to some of the restaurants that we have in town. So it's not just that, you know, we're giving them a break on one end, but it's actually for the betterment of the whole. And I know I said this before, and I had some residents get a little mad at me, that I'm not saying that there aren't some of us in town that might need a little tax relief. You know, $512 on average per year savings. For some people, that's a lot of money. But I just look at it in terms of the collective good. You know, if you were to chase some of these businesses away, like Worcester did with Prime Metals, you know, these would be opportunities lost. Not only, like I said before, do they have employees contributing, but, you know, they're supporting local charitable events as well. So, you know, I see an equal rate as a win-win, and as long as I'm on the board, I'm going to fully support it. So I guess on that, I'll get off my soapbox. And again, just thank you again to the assessors for all the hard work that you do day in and day out. I definitely appreciate it. And with that, Madam Chairwoman, I will pass it on.
Thank you so much, Jesse. Jonathan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks, Nick, Joyce, and Ray. So I just have one quick question, Nick, just in regards to the total valuation for residential. How much did that increase? What was the percentage that increased this year? I know you talked about the total valuation increase, you know, including both commercial, industrial, and personal property. But as far as the residential, do you have an idea of how much it increased over last year?
Their share you're talking about?
Not the share, but it's the total value, just so like a percentage of increase, you know, because I know property values are probably going up.
Well, I can't quickly tell you the percentage, but last year the total residential value was $1,356,000,000. This year it's $1,389,000,000. So that's what, $33 million higher than it was last year.
Yeah, I think the reason why I want to point that out is that, you know, even though the tax rate, you know, only went up maybe by 24 cents, you know, some people may be wondering, well, if it only went up that much, how come my, you know, my taxes could potentially increase? And so I just wanted people to understand that, you know, the valuations have increased from last year because of the economic conditions or the demand that's in the area. So I just want to make sure we, you know, highlight that for people to understand, because I think sometimes, you know, they don't necessarily understand like the amount of property value that goes up and how that contributes to what you pay in taxes. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Jeffrey? Jeffrey, you're muted. Jeffrey?
Yeah. Okay. It took a while. Sorry. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Nick, Joyce, Ray. I'm fully in support of this as well. And you know, we've talked about it. I know we talked about it last year, which was my first year on the board, and I know it's been talked about every year. And I think just the example that was provided here of what the increase in the commercial tax versus a savings at the residential level is like a 6-to-1 differential. And, you know, I think we talked about last year, and Dave talked about it a little bit tonight, about commercial values can be significantly higher in this town than $400,000. So when we look at that overall increase, that increase on a multi-million-dollar building is certainly a lot higher than $3,200. And that difference can be the difference in a business wanting to come here. It could be another job for somebody. So that it is a big difference, and probably bigger than just what that example shows. And I think, like everyone else has said, I think some of the things that are sometimes overlooked are the additional permits, fees, personal property tax, excise tax that a commercial business will provide to the town. But also, you know, I think we're going to talk in a few minutes about Unity Park, and you start to look at the contributors to that made that possible, there was a lot of commercial involvement, corporate involvement with that park. And so these businesses add to the more than just what they bring in real estate taxes. So I'm fully in support of this. I just want to just clarify one thing that Jonathan just mentioned, and Nick, if you could just clarify it, because when you said it initially, it sounded a little off to me. Could you just clarify that the increase in the residential was based on valuation? It was not based on an increase in actual rate.
All the values in the residential portion are based on sales of property that occurred in the previous calendar year. Sometimes they have to go outside of that calendar year because they have to have a certain amount of sales. So the assessors and the Board of Selectmen don't have any real choice in that. What drives the value of residential, the total residential value in town, is the sales of property. If you've noticed in the paper that those properties are selling for more than what they're assessed for, in some cases considerably more, and that's what drives up the residential value, and that
Right, but
has happened.
I guess my question was more really clarifying that the rate has not changed, because it sounded, when you initially said it, and I want to make sure that people understand that the residential piece went up because of valuations, but the actual rate itself did not increase.
The tax rate increased. It went up about 24 cents.
No,
14 cents, I'm sorry.
but so did the commercial as well. Everybody's
Right.
changed. The valuation changed.
Everybody's tax rate went up.
That's okay. That's all I wanted to get across, because when you said it initially, it sounded like the rate for residential increased while the rate for commercial went down, but it was really just a valuation math.
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any additional questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you,
Sorry
Jeffrey.
for the confusion.
No, none at all. Obviously no need for me to repeat everyone's comments, but, you know, in support of what Jesse said, although I've never been a fan of trickle-down theory of economics, I think that the value of having the businesses in town really does trickle down to the residents here and the people who work here in Sutton businesses. So I always have been and continue to be a supporter of having a single tax rate for the community. So thank you to the three of you for your hard work. Nick, you make it all come together on 2 pieces of paper rather miraculously. So thank you.
No, it's not quite that easy. And really, Joyce is the one who does 99% of the work. She doesn't like to get on the television, so I speak for her. One thing that I've done for a number of years as look at what each one of us, the 5 of you, Jim, the 3 members of the Board of Selectmen here, the Board of Assessors, what the tax change is for it. And I'll tell you what the high and the low is, that the lowest increase in tax, everybody's tax increased. The lowest was $65 for the year, and the highest was $235 for the year. So is that kind of average? I don't know, but it gives some kind of feeling for the public of what to expect.
Thank you so much, Nick.
Okay,
There being no further questions or comments, we can take a roll call vote to close the public hearing, and we'll start with you, David.
David Hall, aye.
Jesse Lemanik, aye.
Jonathan Anderson, I.
Jeff Bannon, aye.
Wendy Mead, aye. So we have now closed the public hearing. And if anyone would like to entertain a motion with regard to the single tax factor.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve a single tax factor for fiscal year 2021.
Second that?
All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Right, that motion carries unanimously. Thank you to the 3 of you again.
Thanks, guys.
So we are going to take a little step back on our agenda now that Lieutenant Sullivan seems to have gained control over her video. So I'm actually going to turn the floor over to the chief first. So Dennis, if you want to unmute yourself. We can't hear you.
How about now?
Perfect.
You got me now?
Yes.
Okay. So good evening. I'd like to express our appreciation to the board for once again entertaining us with this important event tonight. It's unfortunate that we have to do it by Zoom because I know you folks like to see a police enter the room and exit quickly after the promotion is made. So as you know, without further introduction, Lieutenant David Perry retired after 34 years of service with the town of Sutton, retired in September, which left us, with quite a significant void in the staff here. Dave Perry was a great worker here. He was a good guy to have around. And, so I struggled literally like a flounder for a couple of months here, trying to determine what would be the best way to complete a selection process. And with the help of actually some input from you folks and from Jim Smith and some other people I rely on, we came up with a promotion process, which was completed the second week of November. 3 of the sergeants who competed in it, it was relatively close as far as, their performance and whatnot in the process. And it was also clear that there was one party that came out on top, and that's Lisa Sullivan. So a little history with Lisa Sullivan, and I'm going to try to actually, I'm not sure if my goal tonight is to actually do this without complimenting her. We have this private joke that she says, before I retire, I'm just going to make you say something nice about me. So I'm going to try my best not to do that tonight, but we'll see what happens. As you know, she came here in 2011. She came here with some experience from another police department in the Commonwealth, and she joined our staff in 2011. She was promoted to sergeant in 2017, and here we are almost to the day that we hired her, not 9 years ago. We actually hired her on December 14th in 2011. And we're here, just the day after, 9 years later, we're promoting her to a lieutenant. So she has been a great asset to the department. And I've said to you folks a number of times, like, I need supervisors to make sure things go right when, I'm not around or when something has gone wrong. But I also need supervisors who aren't afraid to call me out and keep me in line. Well, I would say that that's probably Lisa Sullivan's best asset. Just in the couple of minutes here that we were waiting for the technical difficulties, I just gathered, like, actually this report here that I have is actually a scathing report that she authored in 2019 of August, with all of my deficiencies and deficiencies in the department. And, you know, it was actually something that her and a number of other people got together and just said, hey, we're going to try to make the department a better place to work. And, you know, and they actually authored this 10 or 11 page document and gave it to me one day. And, you know, I started reading it, and there's a lot of red letters and like a lot of bullet points and things of that nature. And I'm like, wow, these guys are really slamming me. But, you know, in essence, they were 100% spot on. And, you know, we need to change with the times, and there needed some changes that needed to be made. And, you know, we implemented a lot of these changes. So my point in saying that is, you know, she puts our money where our mouth is. I merely asked for some suggestions for improvements. And within a few weeks later, I had a 10 or 11 page report that was laying on my desk that she was one of the co-authors of, which to me is great. And in essence, to be proactive like that, it just works even better in a department, and it works even better out on the street as a police officer. So she's certainly no stranger to education. She has a master's degree in criminal justice from Northeastern University. And like I said, she's been a great asset here. As much as I would like to take all of the credit for the Facebook page, I actually have to give her a little credit for it. And I say that jokingly because, you know, Jim's laughing. I don't do Facebook, and, you know, I should tell the truth that she does 99% of our Facebook page, and it's been a great hit here in town, and we've gotten a lot of support and made some connections with the community through the Facebook page. You know, I could go on and on. I think some of the best assets are definitely a good work ethic, and, you know, there's a lot of character there, which sometimes is challenging to, I guess, bridge the character. As far as, you know, she's certainly steadfast, and I don't want to say stubborn, but you know, there's some strong-mindedness there, and, you know, that certainly is a welcome asset in the role. So without saying too many nice things, I present to you for you know, for promotion and ratification, Lisa Sullivan, to promotion for a lieutenant for the Sutton Police Department. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chief. We appreciate that. I will go around the board and everybody can talk to Lisa personally. So David, we'll start with you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairwoman. First of all, Chief, if I could start with you. You were a little close to actually providing a few compliments there. I actually want to ask you a question. When did you become chief?
2007. I was acting chief for 6 months in 2006, and then in 2007 got the permanent position.
So that was like 13 or 14 years ago.
Yes.
And I dare say, although there have been so many changes in the department over those years, that kind of the combination of Lieutenant Perry retiring and now this promotion, you know, really kind of the biggest changes that we've had in the department since then, since you became chief. And, you know, Chief, one thing that you've done, I think, for me at least, is really help to understand, paint the picture of how important the lieutenant's position is to the department and to you in particular. So, you know, my comments are really simple. I think that we all know on this board that we're really proud to be able to have this moment come about, that we all know Sully, as it says on here, we all know her well. We all know how prepared she is for this position. I think it's really clear that She is the right person as your right-hand person to be able to step into this role. Dave obviously leaves behind pretty big shoes, but I think Lisa's ready to step in and do that. I think we were certainly, I'll say fortunate, but it wasn't fortune. I think it was the culmination of a lot of work and effort to have a pool of candidates available to interview for this job. That's kudos to you, Chief, for years of development within the department. But we have an excellent person here to take this role, and I think in today's world to have a female officer to do this, I think is the right thing at the right time. So that's just a sort of a bonus on top of everything else. So, simply all I can say is, Lisa, congratulations. And you've worked very hard to get where you are. And you were ready for this when the opportunity arose. And I am nothing but confident that this is going to be a very good partnership with you and the chief, and that the town is going to benefit greatly from the work that you're going to do going forward. And we have already benefited from all the work that you've done for all these years here. So congratulations and welcome to your new position.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. Jesse?
Madam Chairwoman, Chief, I'm not going to say anything nice about you because Dave already said enough. So I'll let you off the hook in that regard. So instead, I'll change tactics a little bit and I'll focus on Lieutenant Sullivan for a few minutes, if I may. Lisa, I've known you, since I first came on the board, 5.5 years ago, and I've been able to observe you in different capacities. You were initially a patrolman when I came on board, but then you shifted over to the SRO, and I know you brought tremendous changes and reforms to that position, and you're well respected in the school department, which for me was significant because I was just coming off of the school committee. I think I was chair when you were promoted to sergeant. But regardless of whatever role, you've been consistent. You've been a professional. And the characteristics that you bring to the job each day, to me, are definitely befitting of any type of ranking officer. So I guess I'll remind you of something that you reminded me of recently that I said to you during your promotion. Lieutenant, you are tough, but fair. And just for transparency, I will admit to the public, I myself as a selectman got myself into a little bit of trouble. On election day, without thinking, I went into the poll place wearing a political cap, and the then sergeant had to remind me that it was improper. So even though the fact that I was a selectman, she just, she initially didn't recognize me because I had my mask on and had a different jacket on, but I same type of professionalism as an individual that I've seen her in the public. So I think to me that true life experience that I had is just proof positive that, ultimately you were definitely the right person for this job. So congratulations. And I look forward to you definitely continuing the success. And of course, cutting those selectmen who kind of every now and then, not paying attention, just give us some zingers, because I can say my wife still has continued to remind me of the fact that I kind of screwed up on that day. So, which is a good thing. And
Thank
to
you.
the others, oh, you're welcome. And to the other sergeants, Sergeant Fortunato and Sergeant Nudamaka, thank you for being participants in the process as well. I like Lisa, both Josh and Joe are professionals, and we are fortunate to have them in the department. And I'll be honest with them, even though they're blacked out, but I'm sure they're listening. I talked to Dennis back before Lieutenant Perry retired, and I told him point blank, thank God I'm not involved in the process. I wouldn't want to have to make this decision. And everything that I heard from the evaluation process, literally, it was a decision based on, portions of an inch. So, Chief, you have a good team, top to bottom, and I'm glad to support you and all of the officers and all of the patrolmen. And thank you for all that you all do for our town on a daily basis. And of course, one last congratulations to the new LT.
Thank you.
Thank
Madam
you,
Chairwoman.
Jesse. Jonathan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've been thinking about, just how happy I am, the fact that we had 3 really strong candidates that were from within the department, that this was a very competitive process. And there was a lot of thought and, kind of process to go through to come up, with this choice. And I am just, thrilled at, Lisa, your work ethic and everything you contribute to the department. And, whenever I see you out in the community, you just have a focus and you are just so committed to our community. I think that's something I feel really good about with this department as a whole, but particularly I see this in you as well, is just your commitment to our community in Sutton here. And, that to me goes more than anything, and I can see it in just all the actions that you take. And I'm just really proud that you're the person that has risen to the top of this selection. And I'm just very confident that, you're going to have no problem filling, Lieutenant Perry's shoes. And in fact, I can almost guarantee we'll be saying the same thing about you someday when you retire, and it'll be big shoes to fill. So I just really appreciate everything that you do for our community, and I'm happy for your promotion. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Where'd Jeffrey go? There you are. Everybody's
Okay.
moving on me.
And I didn't even mute myself this time, so thank you, Madam Chair. Lisa, congratulations on this promotion. Chief, I gotta tell you, it's awful easy to say a lot of nice things about Lisa. And I don't know her very well, like the other members of the board, but I think what I do know really might have come from, my wife's a teacher in the school, and I heard an awful lot about you when you were SRO there, and the respect that you earned from the students, from the staff, and that goes a long way with me. And I think I was very pleased when I found that you were selected for this, because I think you're just the involvement in the community, and you're such a role model for the younger kids, particularly the girls in town. I think that's a big deal, and I know you take it seriously, and that goes a long way with me. I know how rigorous this process has been. Chief met with us and talked about it. And I know that the competition, if we can call it that, with Sergeant Fortunato and Sergeant Unemacher was great. And we are fortunate to have all 3 of you in the whole department. So I'm sure you have the support of the board, you have the support of the town. So I will leave my remarks there. I can echo everything that the other members of the board have said. But you have my best wishes, and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. I'll try and be quick. I'm so thrilled that we had the 3 candidates, and that the process was done by 2 people that didn't know any of the candidates. So I think that really spoke highly to the process in and of itself. Chief, I am not surprised you got a large report from Lisa. I saw her in action while we were building the new police station, and I have no doubt that she set you straight several times. And I do know one of my neighbors, her grandchildren met you at a Waters Farms Day, and one of the girls, a couple of years later, she still talks about wanting to be a female police officer. So you've really made an impact on them. But again, all 3 candidates were fantastic. I see everybody is incognito here for the most part, but we know who you are. And we appreciate everyone's service every day. And we hope you all stay safe and healthy. And Lisa, congratulations. We're really glad to have you.
Thank you, Wendy.
So with that being said, I'm sorry again, we're doing this remotely, but if you could raise your hand, your right hand. And do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully perform the duties incumbent upon you as a police lieutenant in accordance with the bylaws of the town and the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts?
I do.
Thank you so much. With that, I would like to entertain a motion from the board.
Madam Chairwoman, it is my honor and pleasure to make a motion to ratify the appointment of Lisa Sullivan to the position of lieutenant for the Sutton Police Department.
And a second. Okay, great. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes unanimously.
We invite the
Lisa,
lieutenant to say a few words.
yes, that's where I was going. Boy, geez.
Jump in. Didn't want to miss out.
I know.
I'll keep it short and maybe a little sweeter than the chief. Without the chief's support and our former lieutenant, Dave Perry, and my husband who's sitting here to my side, my girlfriends, and all my friends this year, as well as all the guys that are working here, I definitely would not be able to do and try and do the things that I see for us in the future. So I have to thank everybody on that. We have a great department of guys that are willing and eager to work. And so it's a very exciting time for us, even though it's a interesting time in society right now. But I just want to say thank you to the chief and to Dave Perry, if he happens to be watching, for allowing me to kind of do what I do and offer support and guidance along the way, and just being great bosses. Like, I cannot say enough. I just think they're phenomenal, and even better, as the chief says, just better people. I consider them both friends and mentors. And so I'm really looking forward to this next chapter. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We're so pleased. Okay, thank you, everyone. Now all the police officers can leave us. We'll say goodbye now. Thank you all again for your service. We'll move right along. We don't want to hold up anything after that. Next item on the agenda is the Unity Park eminent domain taking. So I guess we'll turn the floor over to Jen first.
Hi, everybody. As you know, back in the fall, in October, town meeting voted to allow the Board of Selectmen to move forward, clearing up the Unity Park issues. If you don't mind, I'm going to share a recorded plan to the screen of the area we're talking about. So let me just do that. Okay, so this is the plan of the Unity Park parcel here. This is Heritage Plaza, the intersection of Boston Road and Providence Road. We have, I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this and try to scroll down. Okay, so we have clear title to this portion of the lot. What we do not have clear title to is this interior portion of the lot, about 0.893 acres. Nick Nonemacher went through his records and kind of got as far as he could get and trying to track that deed, and just couldn't find a resolution. So we turned it over to town council and their title search people, and they found exactly what Nick found, was that they couldn't determine who owned this interior parcel, and like Nick suspected, it might have been Sullivan Newton back in the 1800s, but that could not be confirmed. So we have records of this entire parcel being on the town books from quite some time. There's I was looking at a town meeting article the other day back in 1918 of money put forth for the school that was located on these joint parcels for some improvements to that building back in that time period. So we honestly don't think there's any risk in the eminent domain taking, and that anybody will be coming back from well over 100 years ago to challenge the town's ownership of the parcel. We would just need a motion of the Board of Selectmen to proceed with that eminent domain taking. And then once we get that on file, I can get proof of that to the state. And then we can proceed with our reimbursement requests for the newly completed Unity Park rehab project, for which we received, in addition to all the generous donations that were just previously mentioned, we, of course, achieved a $100,000 park grant for this project. So it looks like in the end, the $230,000 that the town committed to this project, we will hopefully only spend a fraction of that, hopefully not more than $70,000 of that money, due to the grant and all of the donations that have been received from individuals and businesses within our communities.
Jennifer, thank you so much for the presentation. Jim, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I think Jen did a nice job. Ultimately, we will record the taking order, and then we will own the land. And ultimately, if anybody feels like they have an interest to this land, then they have the right to file a claim before the courts, and then we would hear that out. But I entirely doubt it. I don't know that after 100 years of owning this property that anybody's going to come out of the woodwork or out of the cemetery to challenge this.
Well, on that note, David, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. I guess just a question on that. I mean, I by virtue of all the work that's been done, I don't think anybody does think that anyone's coming out of the woodwork or the cemetery. If somebody were to, and we've taken it by eminent domain, is this just a matter of settling on a value at that point? I mean, at that point, it's too late to really take the property back. So
Yeah, that's exactly what we would do. We would enter into discussions, and if it ended up in negotiations, then we would come to some sort of settlement. If we didn't settle, they would have a right before the court to enter a plea and the courts would force a settlement. But again, that is extremely remote.
right. So at the end of the day, this is really just about housekeeping to make sure we get proper title, and as Jen said, allow us then to collect all the money that is essentially due to us at this point. So sounds like a good plan to me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, David. Jesse.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Jen, first off, thanks for all the work that you put into this. Nick, you as well, thank you. Because as Dave said, ultimately, there was a discrepancy, and this is housekeeping. We're just trying to kind of solidify all of the good work that went into the park. As I mentioned a couple of times in the meetings, I can see it from my porch. I'm still a little cold, but you can still hear the kids having fun. So, if no one over 100 years wanted to claim that area when it was the dirt and gravel parking lot, I can't imagine they're going to want it now that it's asphalt. So it's nice that we have it, secured in perpetuity. And of course, if an issue does come up, we'll be able to address it. But I think it's remote, so I think it's wonderful. Thank you again for what you both did. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, Jesse. Jonathan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have really nothing more to add on this than what Dave and Jesse already talked about. I think this is straightforward. I think this is the right thing to do, and that's all I have.
I muted myself.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I like Jonathan, agree with Dave and Jesse's comments, and I have no issues with it, and really nothing more to add.
Muted.
Muted again. Still muted.
I keep hitting the wrong button. I don't know. I give up. So this is my 5th Zoom today. I'm zoomed out. So just, to repeat my colleagues' comments, I'm still so thrilled about the park and the playground. It's so exciting. And yeah, after 100 years, I can't imagine what could come creeping out of the woodwork. So thank you all, Nick and Jen, everything for all that you've done. And I'm excited, and I'll be glad when you're able to get your hands on all those funds, and just really glad that the park's been completed. So thank you so much. So that being said, do we have a motion from the floor?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion pursuant to the vote taken under Article 2 of the October 19th, 2020 special town meeting to take by eminent domain for park purposes and for the purpose of confirming title thereto. The parcel of land located on Boston Road known as Unity Park and shown on a plan recorded with the Worcester South District Registry of Deeds in Plan Book 950, page 29, which parcel includes the premises conveyed to the town by deed recorded in Book 2054, page 377. No damages being awarded for said taking and no betterments are to be assessed therefore.
Second.
There being a motion and a second, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you so much, Jen. And I will leave you on the spot, Jen, for the next item on our agenda for the mills.
All right. All right, back in 2017, I believe it was, town meeting voted again to allow the Board of Selectmen authority to swap basically a parcel of land owned by the town for a parcel of land owned by TJJ Development down in the center of Manchog. And I am going to share that plan to the screen with you now as well. All right, are you seeing just the map on your screen?
Yes.
Good. All right, so this plan has actually been updated again. Nick being my other set of eyes and ears. This Canal Street moniker has been taken off there because that's not accurate. And some bounds here that are labeled as to be set have now been set. And those notations have been changed to bounds set so that we have a definitive separation between what the town will own, what will remain owned by TJJ as we move forward. So this pink parcel is the parcel that town meeting voted would be traded with TJJ to TJJ, and they will give us this orange parcel. That will leave the post office, which is here on the green parcel. This green and pink parcel now will now be a conforming lot in the village district. And the orange parcel will in effect be contiguous to this other town parcel where the Manchog Fire Station is located, and this will all be one town holding. We are also acquiring a 40-foot easement from this western lot line, 40 feet here, and that will be for pedestrian access, handicap access drop off, and for construction and maintenance access into this area if and when we develop this as a public park. Because we also have this ownership here, which can also be used for access. But once you get inside the property, there is a significant topography change along this area that will make it difficult to have true ADA compliant access here down into the remainder of this area, and or from over here into the park this way, should we do a bridge connection from this direction. So want to make sure we have ADA access here. We will not be able to park or anything here. You would drop somebody off and then park over on town parcels. But we wanted to make sure we had that easement so that we could proceed with what we would like to do on this parcel moving forward. So that's all I've got on that. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
All right, that was really comprehensive. Thank you. We'll see if David has anything to ask you.
Jen, thank you for the presentation. Just a quick question. Can you remind us what TJJ Development is incentivized to do this for? What do they gain?
Well, they didn't come to us. I went to them. So, but they are gaining something without a doubt. What they are gaining is right now they have a pre-existing non-conforming lot on which the post office sits. They can continue to use that lot going forward. But now they'll have a conforming lot. So it makes it easier for them. If they want to transfer the lot, they're transferring a conforming lot. If they want to, God forbid, pull down the National Register Post Office building, which I hope will never, 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 never happen. And replace it with another building, or even put up another structure on that parcel. You know, they're doing it on a conforming lot. Again, none of that is their stated intention. Again, they did not approach us. I approached them. Also, the rear portion of the lot, which let me just share that again so you can see that. The rear portion of the lot, this portion up here, the Zoning Board of Appeals granted a frontage variance out here on Putnam Hill Road. So they're going to retain this rear portion of the lot. And then they can actually put one single family house on that. None of that was part of this deal. There was no deal that the zoning board would give them a variance. They had to go before the Zoning Board of Appeals and argue that, and did so successfully. But this having been asked to do this transfer kind of spurred them to think about what they could or couldn't do with their whole holding that they've had in place for forever. I shouldn't say for forever, but for a long time. So this one buildable lot, them actually asking for the variance and getting that in motion was spurred by this whole thing. It certainly was not in any way a quid pro quo. So all they're getting out of this is a fully conforming lot. Right now, their stated intention is to just continue to use it the way it is, but it does make it a little bit cleaner in a sale, or easier for use or additional buildings as they move forward if they decide they're going to do something else.
Thank you for that. And I guess just quickly, I mean, if you look at the size of what they gave up versus what they got, you might think there's some inequity there, but is that really just because of the nature of the land that they gave up in relation, I guess, to what was already town-owned property? Or
yeah, no, I mean, there's certainly a difference in size, but you got to remember parcel 2 has the remains of mill number 2 on it, which from a historic perspective and a potential park perspective for geeks like me is pretty amazing and valuable. But from a valuation standpoint, with no frontage except for this little teeny tiny strip over here, there's not a lot of value to this. And we did have a phase 1 environmental done on this because we didn't want to be taking anything that had any potential pollutants or anything on it. But I mean, overall, it doesn't have a ton of value. Whereas the pink parcel, while it's teeny tiny, you know, is frontage on Manchog Road and does give them a fully compliant lot. So, I mean, they already have a fully usable pre-existing non-conforming lot, but, you know, that does have a different kind of value despite its smaller size than this much larger kind of backland parcel does. So there is a big disparity in size, but there are definitely factors. If I laid on the topography lines in here, you'd see some wetland lines. You'd see that this parcel 2, you know, has a lot going on it, but also, in my opinion, just a ton of promise for a historic interpretation park that will speak hopefully very loudly, if I can get enough grants and funding, of the history of this village, kind of the heart of the history of the village.
all right, great. I know that was a history lesson, but I appreciate that. I think it's good to remind us of that, and I look forward to the day that we can see that park there. So thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Jesse.
Madam Chairwoman, Jen, again, thank you. Nick, again, thank you for the work that you put into this. I really don't have anything to say. I think you were very straightforward and complete. You gave us, the community, just a refresher into why town meeting, you know, acted this way back in 2017. And you gave us a little illumination of what the future plans are. So I can't imagine that there would be any resident in the area that wouldn't be supportive of this. So, you know, with that being said, you know, I think this is wonderful. Thank you again. Congratulations, and look forward to this being done. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, Jesse. Jonathan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jen, this just goes to show, like, again, good planning, to kind of see the asset of that site. I know there's some bridge work in there, there's some bridges in there and everything. It's just an incredibly good site for potentially a future, like, historic park that you were talking about.
Mhm.
I think this is just a great asset to Manchog, and at some point in the future, when the time is right and we can get the appropriate grants and funding and whatnot, I think it totally makes sense. And I also think having potentially the partnership with the Sutton Recreational Resources Group, or I don't know the exact name, but they're the group that formed Unity Park, and I know that they formed it not just to do Unity Park, but to look at all of the park type assets throughout the town as well. So I think it's a perfect example of again, community groups and the town working together. And I think that's probably a good potential partnership in the future. So I think that's an example. So again, just good planning. I think this is an incredibly good site. I'm really excited about the potential of this site and being able to highlight Sutton's industrial past in the Manchog neighborhood, and potentially just make that into a great historic park. So thank you very much for all the work you've done on this.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Jeffrey?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks, Jen and Nick. I honestly don't have an awful lot to add to what's been said already. It's what I remember from town meeting a couple of years ago. So it's pretty straightforward to me. So a good piece of work, though. And that's all I have, Madam Chair.
I just wanted to say, thank you, Jeffrey. I just wanted to say kudos to you, Jen, for taking the effort to reach out to them and get this going. And yeah, I think it's wonderful. And the idea of a little park there just gives you a little spark of, something that I really hope happens. And I agree. I'd hate to see anything happen to that post office. It's adorable. But that's really my only comment. Just thank you for your hard work, and thanks to the town for passing that at town meeting a couple of years ago. So if there's no further questions for Jen, I believe we could entertain a motion.
Madam Chairwoman, I move pursuant to the vote taken under Article 21 of the 2017 annual town meeting to convey to TJJ Development Corporation a parcel of town-owned property located on Manchog Road, identified as Parcel 4, on a plan containing 0.06 acres more or less, and acquired by the town by foreclosure in tax lien case recorded with the Worcester South District Registry of Deeds in Deed Book 6978, page 338, and as consideration for said conveyance to accept from TJJ Development Corporation a deed to property located at Manchog Road, identified as Parcel 2, on a plan containing 2.71 acres, more or less, for general municipal purposes, and to execute any and all deeds and acceptances, settlement statements, and other documents necessary or convenient to accomplish the foregoing land exchange.
There's a second. There being a motion and a second, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, you got another one, Jen, that passes unanimously. So thank you so much for your presentations.
Thank you for your support.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up is our 2021 license renewals, and we'll turn the floor over to Jim. But Jonathan, my best recollection from last year is that unfortunately Jesse had to read all of them into the record. So after we hear from Jim, go get a glass of water because you'll be on.
I'll take as much time as I need, Jonathan, to kind of give you a chance to. Thank you, Madam Chair. So all the licenses are set up at the in the board meeting room for the board to sign. The only license that didn't submit a renewal was Love to Play. That opened just before the pandemic began, and the unfortunate luck. So they haven't totally, decided to leave the business, but they're kind of in a suspension right now. So let's hope that after the pandemic's over and the vaccines are out there, that they're able to come back and do their nice things for the kids. But ultimately, it's now up to the clerk of the board.
That's you, Jonathan.
All right. So the following licenses have been renewed for 2021. Class 2, Bex, Brian's Auto Service, Brown Automotive, Frank's Auto Sales, Hampton Motor Sales, Byrider, Lappin's Auto, PT Watts Incorporated, Progressive Auto, Reed's Automotive, Sutton Auto LLC, and 122 Worcester Providence Turnpike LLC, aka John's Automotive. Class 3, Scott Cars Auto Shack, catering license, 3D's Catering, innkeeper's license, Econo Lodge, lodging house, Putnam Hill Bed and Breakfast, common vicular, Essex Golf Group, DBA Blackstone National Golf Club, Brickstone Kitchen, Crossroads Variety, Dudley Jenner American Legion Post number 414, Dunkin' Donuts Inside Extra Mart, Five Guys Hamburgers, Jim's Pizza, King's Campground Country Store, KP's Breakfast and Lunch, Market 32, Nick's Country Market, Old Holbrook Place, Peking Garden, Pizzeria Bruno, PV Food and Beverage, Schultz's Place, Starbucks Corporation, Sutton Center Country Store, Sutton Falls Camping Area, Sutton Extra Mart, locations at 27 and 157 Worcester Providence Turnpike, Tony's Pizza, amusement devices, Sutton Falls Campground, Dudley Jenner and American Post number 414, Jukebox, alcohol liquor licensed restaurants, Brickstone Kitchen, Dudley Jenner American Legion Post number 414, Essex Golf Club, doing business as Blackstone National Golf Club, PV Food and Beverage, Tony's Pizza, Sutton Pizza, alcohol license, package stores, Crossroads Variety, Market 32, wine and malt beverage licenses, retail, King's Campground, Nick's Country Market, Sutton Center Country Store, Valancourt Folk Art, music and dance, Dudley Jenner and American Legion Post number 414, PB Food and Beverage. Entertainment by DJ Seasonal, Essex Golf Group, doing business as Blackstone National Golf Club, and King's Campground.
Nice job, Jonathan. We'll give you a break now. We will look to David.
Thank you very much. Not much to say other than, Jim's comment regarding the children's sort of playground store is just a reminder of, how difficult this past year has been on so many businesses, particularly small businesses. So maybe we should be feel sort of lucky that there's only really one business in town so far that is or at least one on this list that is perhaps succumbed to this. So it's been difficult. It's been a challenging year for everybody, and that's all. Good luck to everybody that is continuing to try to keep it going.
Thank you so much, David. Jesse.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Dave, that was spot on. Well said, my friend. Jim, I do have one question.
Sure.
There was a reference to Econo Lodge. Is not that now Red Roof Inn?
It is. I don't know that. I'd have to check on the official license name, but it is the same entity.
Okay.
But the official, I'll have to follow up on that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
Sure.
other than that, I have no real comments. Dave, you said it perfectly. It's really, really sad that we lost the play area. I remember when that young couple came before us, they exuded energy and excitement. They were just happy to be, part of the Sutton community. So, I'm going to say a prayer for them, as I do for every business and every individual, that's dealing with this pandemic, and hopefully that we're all able to pull through, because, that place had so much potential. So, and again, as you said, Dave, it's very fortunate that it was just one. So, it's just a reminder to all the residents, we are in interesting times. So just be safe, be smart, and just remember to support these local businesses, because they're dependent on us. So thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
You're very welcome, Jesse. Thank you. Jonathan, we're back to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I just want to kind of build off of what David and Jesse said. This is just a reminder of like all the businesses that are in town, or some of the business anyway, and just to remind people, like, to go to these businesses and support them. I mean, this is a very tough time. Really sad to hear, that just the unfortunate timing with the Love to Play area. I remember, like Jesse said, I remember when the couple came in and they were all excited about building this out. Hopefully they can come back from this, but I think, all of these small businesses are probably really struggling to survive right now. And I just really encourage people to keep them in their memory when they decide to go out to eat or something like that, or need to go to the store, like to choose them maybe first rather than some of the larger companies surrounding the area. Because again, these are families that are directly impacted. So this is a very tough time, and hopefully it's over soon. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Jeffrey.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I had the same thoughts that the others had, as far as, when I saw the list, and I did think about early on Love to Play, because I know they had just come in to see us, but they were uniquely vulnerable, I think, to a situation like this. So that's too bad for them, and we should obviously support all these businesses. So nothing really additional to add to that, but that's what I have.
Okay, great. Yeah, again, and to echo everyone's sentiments, it's so important to give our business to the small businesses, and I really hope the Love to Play people come back. It would be great to see them again and see their business thriving. I have one question. I thought Tony's Sutton Pizza had a wine and malt license. This is all alcohol. Did that change with the new ownership, or is it, am I just wrong? Was it always an all liquor?
I'd have to defer to Deb on that.
Okay.
They've always had
no objection either way.
They've always had all alcohol.
They have. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That was my only question.
Thanks, Deb.
Yeah. Thank you, Deb. You saved me. So we've reviewed the item on the agenda. If anyone has a motion.
Madam Chairwoman, I'd like to make a motion to approve as read the 2021 license renewals in the town of Sutton.
Second.
There being an motion and a second, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. So Jim, that brings us to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a few updates for the board. The first is an update on the insurance claim for the police department. As you may recall, about a month ago, one of the air handling units began leaking, and ultimately it leaked into the communication room down in the basement or first floor of the police station. We filed a claim with our insurance carrier, Maya. They have already paid for the backup server, which is a real quick turnaround. That server's in service as we speak. The adjuster also let us know that they're going to cut us a check for $90,000 for the value of some of the additional equipment, which should take care of all of our issues. The operations area is still functioning. Some of the connections have a little bit of wetness to them, or not wetness to them right anymore, but appear to be beginning to corrode. So they decided to replace all of that equipment. So we appreciate that. I think they did the right thing, and that's why we stay with the insurance company Maya that we've been with long before I started here. So the CARES Act money, we're currently paying for the online permitting software that the building department is doing, as well as Handicapped Accessible Doors, which those bids were due Thursday. We've extended that bid to Friday because of the potential storm on Thursday. But with that, we have spent the entire $842,000 that was appropriated to the town. By December 31st, that money would be taken away from us. So I didn't want to leave any money on the table, and I work closely with the school department, Ted Friend, and Tim Harrison, and I appreciate all their help. Not only do we get all the CARES Act money, but we're going to get some additional FEMA money as part of this process. So all improvements, a lot of the laptops we purchased that Tim is using and the Board of Assessors and others are using are a result of the CARES Act money. So it allows us to continue to work remotely. And we've got some exciting projects on the horizon. We did sign up with DocuSign. That's another online kind of system that allows the board to continue to work remotely and provide service to the town. So that's all good news. The next item is Handicapped Doors. I mentioned that. We're out to bid again. Bids are coming in now Friday at 11 a.m. We've got a number of companies that have taken out bids to replace the front doors and the library door with handicap accessible doors. Part of this is our desire to become more accessible to all residents of this town. Ultimately, we will have, a switch that somebody can touch and the doors will automatically open. That's when we ultimately open town hall and we're beyond this COVID situation. So that's exciting. We installed a handicap access from the back parking lot to the library, and now we'll have a handicap accessible door to enter the library when that time comes. So that's all good news. Health Department IMAs, intermunicipal agreements. The town of Sutton was notified by the town of Rutland that they exercised their 30-day termination notice to the town. We weren't terribly surprised by that. Rutland is a pretty remote community to Sutton. So there was no loss there in our mind. And the fact is, I've talked to Cheryl and we're going to re-examine all of our IMAs once this pandemic's over. She's wants to make sure that all towns get through this situation and not leave anybody hanging. But, we have talked about some communities that we'd maybe move on from post-pandemic. But we'll have that conversation when we get through this in maybe the second quarter of 2021. Cheryl continues to do a great job with this, and hats off to her because she comes in a couple times a day just to give me updates, and she's just doing a great job. And I know the board appreciates her as well. And lastly, town hall schedule for the holidays. Christmas is obviously on a Friday this year. I spoke to the chairperson and have agreed to allow the town hall staff to take Thursday off. Usually it's a half day, but we're going to give them the full day off on that Thursday. We will work Thanksgiving, New Year's Eve, half day as normal, and come back after New Year's Day. So I appreciate the board's support on that. I think it's important that everybody just take a break, other than the highway and everybody else that'll be out there fighting storms. But I think it's a message well received by the staff here for that. So that's all I have for updates, Madam Chair.
All right, Jim, thank you as always for that. And I will turn it over to Dave.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairwoman. Jim, thank you for the update as always. I could just sort of run down the list. It's interesting. I'm glad you called out Maya in particular. Maybe seems weird to be thanking your insurance provider, but I mean, that is really kind of fast service that they provided. And at a glance, maybe I shouldn't be, but at a glance, it seems like a $90,000 check's a big check. And of course, we understand from a previous update that they were sort of very proactive to help us recognize the full extent of the damage that was there. So,
right.
So that all worked out really well. And since I'm sure he was bored, it gave Maynard something else to do to keep up with our communication systems. So I think maybe Tim just checked out. I wish he hadn't, because I think he deserves some some kudos for all the work that he's done with the managing the CARES Act money. That among other things, just the logistics of keeping track of the money that was there and the options for using it. Just the bookkeeping to keep track of it was quite a task. But
Yeah.
I think that the couple of items that we have here are just a reminder of how well we have done as a town over a long period of time of identifying available monies for grants and other things, and being creative in using that money. So the CARES Act money, due to the circumstances that we had, was obviously a new pool of money that became available, but it was really only there if we could use it.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
think-
and it was a limited time frame where we had to use it, and from basically the spring till this coming December 31st, and that was a tight time frame. Dan Durgan's been working to get Chromebooks for every student in the school system, but they're back ordered. So we worked with the company, and they've written to CARES and to various towns for a letter that we submit with the purchase order. That should cover us. But a lot of this kind of having to work through the loops of this to make sure that we get access to all of these funds.
Yeah. Any kind of grant is a difficult process. So it's again, just kudos to the team for putting in the effort and the creativity to be able to take advantage of the money that was there. And I guess the same thing on Handicapped Doors is just another example of creative thinking and an enhancement to Town Hall. So I look forward to seeing that get done. It's interesting. I guess I'm not surprised to hear that any given town that we have an IMA with in this regard is reassessing how they want to do it from their perspective, given what's gone on here. So just irrespective of the good work that Cheryl's done on their behalf, I think reassessing your own needs makes sense at this point. And I've had some opportunity to be at Town Hall kind of late over the last couple of months, and it seems like I'm never there at a time when Cheryl's not. She's, this has been really challenging time for her, as we all know, and Judy's really there as well. So I think, we all know that as we've added towns under her control through these IMAs, that we've all been asking the question as to whether the workload remained something that she was able to keep up with. And it was not a problem at all until COVID came around. Right. And it's a new challenge altogether with COVID. And we know that she's taken advantage of nursing help from all over the place. She's not doing it alone. But I think the idea that we do reassess this when we have a little bit of quiet time to look at it is the right thing to do. So yeah. And lastly, Wendy, thank you for pushing for the full day off prior to the Christmas break. I think having kind of the remote scheduling that we have now, so the requirement really for the town to kind of make a lot of appointments makes it a little bit easier to be able to do this kind of thing. But good opportunity for everybody. I'm certainly happy to support that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, David. Jesse.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Jim, excellent update as always. I'll be brief because I think Dave pretty much touched upon all of the big points. I'm glad to see that Maya was there in our corner, and it's nice to see the creativity that was used to implement the full allotment of the CARES Act. And then, as Dave said, just having the handicapped accessible doors both into the library and Town Hall, that's just going to be great to see. Because for anyone who's been to Town Hall, the doors that we have, they're kind of old, they're kind of heavy, they're awkward. Yeah. So yeah, I think just having that ability to push the button, plus it will help deliveries as well. So it's a good thing.
Right.
On the IMA, Dave, I think you just scratched the surface on this. And if I may, I'd like to look at it from the perspective of a community that's relying on another town in such an agreement. So from Rutland's perspective, I can't imagine at this point, considering, the realities of the pandemic, of not having somebody in your community
Yeah.
to provide these services. I know when we made the discussion, when these first started coming up, there's a lot of towns, engaging in these cost saving measures,
Yeah.
and that's the reality of municipal finance. You only have so many dollars to spend. But I think for many communities, they're probably going to be looking at this as a need, not as a want, but as an actual need. So I'm not bothered by this from either perspective. I think it's smart move on their part, and I think it's probably a welcome reprieve for Cheryl. So I think we're going to benefit in the long run.
Yeah, it is obviously probably foresight on the town's behalf that we have kept a town nurse. We're one of the last communities to actually have a town nurse, but it has been a great advantage to this town, not only now, but over the past 13 years I've been here, to have a nurse, somebody that's qualified, knows Maven, is able to deal with communicable disease, and is just such a resource to the town. And it's a great position to be in.
And beyond that, dispersing flu shots, doing home and health checks
Yeah.
on the seniors who are homebound, or the people who are short on luck in terms of finances.
Right.
Cheryl isn't just the town nurse. She's
Right.
kind of like the big mom that makes sure that those who need help, get that help. And the fact that we were able to share her when the times were good,
Yeah.
that speaks positive to her abilities. But I'm kind of looking forward to kind of focusing on our own needs in the near future. So I look forward to the reassessment.
Yeah.
And I'm going to agree with Dave. I think Christmas holiday, given the staff in town hall, the extra day, I think that's the right move. And hopefully, I'm going to knock on wood that the rest of the community just kind of keep things low. So that way, those people who have to work in town, fire who's always on call 24/7, police department, highway, that they can at least get a reprieve. So we'll look out to Mother Nature, no storms, no craziness, and that way everyone can be safe for the holidays. Thank you, Jim.
Sure.
Madam Chairwoman, that's all I have.
Okay, Jesse, thank you so much. Jonathan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks, Jim, for your update. I'm just going to skip down to the IMA because I think, between Dave and Jesse, I think they covered the other three items. But I think the IMA, I think, like I said, I'm not too bothered about this. I think it's probably good that we're starting to reduce the load. I've been concerned about that this entire time. I think if the pandemic continues on for a period on, that we should really consider the load as it is, and maybe start having conversations with some of these towns so they can start maybe finding nurses themselves, because I think that for a long period of time, if this continues on, this is just probably too much of a load. And I think, in the times when, pre-COVID, the health departments, weren't as utilized maybe as they are now, or is it, they've always been important, but I think people are realizing now. So I think from my perspective, I've always been a little bit concerned about the number of IMAs we have in the position that puts us in.
It was mostly a cost savings for all these towns. Most of them, I don't think any of them have a town nurse. They all had to contract out through, let's say, Harrington Hospital, and Harrington Hospital was charging $150 an hour, and that included transportation to the location and transportation back. And so these towns were getting beaten up financially, and obviously the situation with our IMAs is that we provide that service at roughly $75 an hour, almost half of the cost. But obviously no one had anticipated a pandemic. We need to review this and take another look at it.
Yeah, or maybe charge some more. Not that we're looking for, but if we, maybe they won't be as attractive for them to want to contract us. I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to think about I'm concerned about Charles' workload and the amount of, having so many towns during this time. So
yeah, it's been a challenge.
We're going to keep that in mind. Not that we're trying to make money off of anything, but
yeah.
Yes, and as far as Christmas holidays, I'm definitely, happy that we're giving all the hardworking, town employees the day off. So I think that makes absolute sense.
Thanks.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
great. Thank you, Jonathan. Jeffrey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Jim. So as always, Dave, Jesse, and Jonathan have pretty much covered everything. So I just had a couple of quick comments. And I think one of the things that, Jim, as you went through all the different investments we now have made with the CARES money, CARES Act money. One of the positive things that has come out of this has been the efficiencies that we've gained with the new way we do things, are able to do things, and we've able to upgrade some equipment and so forth. So I think the CARES Act filled a hole for us that we had, but also really we'll be able to benefit from that going forward.
Yeah, and we're also, taking the lessons of improving remote access to the town. You can buy pretty much, at some point shortly, you will be able to purchase pretty much any permit that you're looking for online. We're looking at selling dog licenses through the town clerk's office online, and all of this will be remote. Not that, in 6 months, hopefully town hall is open, we're back to reality, but the fact is it's still a busy community and two working individuals supporting a household. So I think it's better for town hall.
Yeah, and I think the capital investment at the schools, for the schools, helps now because of the teacher's situation and remote. But I think going forward, hopefully it can expand the programs that are offered and really make a more robust kind of curriculum that they have there. So I think that's a good thing. As far as the IMAs, I'm in agreement with you and with the other board members on that. Just a question on that. We charge by the hour, or is there a fixed component to what we charge?
No, we generally charge by the hour. It's $75 an hour. It started in Webster. It started 10 years ago. John McAuliffe was the manager in Webster, and we have a common history. We worked together in the South Coast, and we met with Cheryl and kind of started this whole idea because he was in desperate need of a nurse to do flu clinics and other types of communicable diseases. And it grew from there. And a lot of communities have signed up since, but.
Yeah. So I think we should look at that, but also look at it in terms of, we're providing an hourly service for sure, but we're also, giving them almost an insurance policy against these kind of situations. So maybe we should think about factoring that into whatever we decide to do going forward.
Well, and the thing is, a lot of these communities aren't necessarily financially hurting because they can use the CARES Act money or the grant that we got through Charlton to pay the services that Cheryl delivers.
Yeah.
So there are financial resources to cover these costs.
Good. Okay. So. And then the holiday, the day off, I think that's a great thing, particularly this year. So I'm fully in favor of that. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All I really wanted to add was, it's just too bad Tim's gone, because I'd really like to let him know we appreciate the extra work that he's had to do on top of all the other oddities of life going on right now, that he's kept such good track of that money. So
I'll let him know.
Yeah, please do. Please do. And just, happy holidays to the staff there, and enjoy a long weekend.
Thank you.
So that, I believe, is the end of Jim's update. So we will take together announcements, roundtable, correspondence, and business topics. David.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. At this time, I'm sort of fond of saying to everyone to be safe. And it's a little bit of extra meaning there. We have a storm coming up, so everybody do your best to stay off the roads as much as you can. Stay out of the way of the plows. Let them do their jobs. try to stay safe that way. And I guess I'd also like to say that we just had a discussion a minute ago about businesses closing. So when I think of stay safe, what I mean by that also is stay safe in this pandemic, that your personal safety goes a long way to helping the community as a whole. So you're keeping yourself and your family safe, but you're also helping everybody stay open and sort of keep the community and the business life going as much as possible. And to the extent that we don't do that, we risk further shutdown. So that's it. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Thank you so much, David. Jesse.
Madam Chairwoman, I have to thank a couple of people. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Debbie. I managed to pop into town hall today because I know we had lots of signing to do, and I got to go through the process of signing all the licenses, and this process was seamless. So I know she's listening, so thank you, Debbie. And please put that into the minutes. I want to make sure you recognize yourself. Please, please, please. Thank you. Next up, I would like to thank everyone who came out over the weekend to Market 32 in support of the efforts of the Dudley Genren family. From our family to yours, our annual food drive. This year, we set a huge goal for ourselves, knowing that the pandemic is in place and there are a lot of people who are drawing on the food pantry. Instead of filling a truck, what we decided to try is filling a trailer. And over the course of 2 days, well, 2 mornings from 8 to noon, we were successful. When we unloaded all of the food that was donated, it took us 34 full grocery carriages to unload the trailer. The truck that was used had a little weight scale on it, and we're estimating that it was over 2 tons. So after speaking with Michelle, she said, and she assured me, because it's always one of my big concerns, is that there will be no family that lives in Sutton that is in need this Christmas time that will go hungry. So
Nice.
if you are one of those unfortunate people who are just down in luck on you're down and out on your luck and or suffering because maybe you're having a hard time at work, call the senior center. There are services available, and the community has answered the call. So it was huge. And I can say for all maturity that the Mike Chizzy Food Pantry is quite full. Also, Santa has been sighted around Sutton numerous times. He was noticed in the center of town. He was noticed down in Manchog. He was noticed on the Common. And I heard from Santa's elves that Santa will be making a run through Wilkinsonville. So for all the kiddos that are watching this, I don't know why you would, because I'm sure it's not as exciting as other programs. But if mom and dad, you hear this, and you live down in my neck of the woods in Wilkes, Santa will be around. So make sure all the good little boys are ready for him, and girls. And lastly, I'd like to wish everyone a safe and blessed Christmas time, and of course, a most joyous New Year. Thank you, Madam
Thank
Chairwoman.
you so much, Jesse. Jonathan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to wish everybody a happy Hanukkah, a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. And hopefully everybody has just a great holiday time and spend time with your family and take advantage of the slower time that we have right now, and really just enjoy your families.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, my colleagues have been very eloquent in what they in their comments. So I thank them for those, and I second the feelings behind them. And really, all I have to say is to just wish my fellow members of the board, Jim, Debbie, Christine, Pam, happy holidays and stay safe. And the same to the residents of the town and all those kids that are apparently watching us right now. So.
Thank you so much, Jeff. You've all said it so well. I agree with you, David. Thursday has the potential to be rather horrific. So I just encourage everybody to be safe. If you can continue to work from home, do so. Really looking back, this is our last meeting of the year. So looking back over this past year has been, wow, been quite a seesaw. Things have been tough. Things have definitely been different, new challenges, but it blesses my heart to see how good people have been to each other. I mean, 2 tons of food donated, you know, that just, it gives you chills. And I mean that legitimately. And again, just be kind to each other, be joyous, and be generous. And just remember that through the holidays and into next year. So that's all I have for tonight. Any motion?
Madam Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I apologize. Just a reminder to everyone, if you can get to Town Hall and sign all of the licenses and documents. I apologize, Jesse.
Oh, that's all right. I would still like to make a motion to adjourn if that's all right with you.
It's fine. Any second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Good night, gentlemen.